In this video, we asked the question to what extent we can bring the notion of reincarnation into the realm of scientific plausibility by examining the connection of reincarnation to our everyday experiences. So let's explore how our daily lives may hold the key to substantiating the existence of reincarnation. We'll unveil 3 reasons that could change the way we perceive the possibility of multiple lifetimes, backed by intriguing insights and real-world connections that just might reshape your understanding of existence. And welcome to the Eternal World Picture channel. The foundation of this channel is the world picture described by the Danish author Martinus, who had a profound spiritual experience that allowed him to articulate the Eternal World Picture. The purpose of the channel is to provide explanation that makes sense from an everyday point of view. And this video is an example where we relate the notion of reincarnation to our daily experiences. Please leave a comment sharing your thoughts on the plausibility of reincarnation. The concept of reincarnation introduces the idea that our existence spans multiple physical lives, with interludes spent in a spiritual world. It's a notion that extends our existence beyond a singular life, embracing both the tangible, materialistic life and the metaphysical aspect of our being. The term incarnation itself, meaning into the flesh, signifies the act of entering the physical world or being reborn. During the periods between the physical incarnation, we reside in the spiritual world. Unlike the physical world, the spiritual world lacks the same resistance and challenges that we meet in the physical world. It provides an opportunity for us to relax and prepare for a subsequent physical incarnation. However, delving deeper into the spiritual world and the complex dynamics of reincarnation will be the focus of a future video. So what are the signs that we can find for reincarnation in our daily lives? The first argument for reincarnation being plausible is the talents, or more specifically, the differences in talents that we have. The thinking is that 1. We cannot have talents without practice and experience, and 2. We have talents that we have not practiced in our current life. So what are our daily experiences when it comes to talents? If we want to be talented at something, we know that it takes practice and experience to gain the talent. We don't become talented without an effort. Sometimes we are talented in an area, but where does this talent come from? Is there any way that we can gain talent in an area without practice and experience? Why do we go to school and train our skills if there was another way to get the talents? It is the norm that we need to practice to gain a talent. That is our daily experience. So what else does our daily experience tell us about talents? One thing that we can observe is that children are born with unique talents. There are plenty of examples of children who are born as geniuses. Mozart write and play advanced music at a very young age. And why are others completely without talent in that area? Where do the geniuses get their talent from? This idea applies to all of us. Some are good with language and others are good with math. But why is that the case? Why are we so different in our talents? This becomes easy to explain with reincarnation. The children's talents come from experience and practice in earlier life. And it's not only for the genius. We can most likely find things in our own life where we have talent in some areas that we barely have practiced and experienced with in this life and are still pretty good at it. It is a natural talent that we have. This implies that we can carry some talents or lack of talents in other areas that we cannot explain based on a one-life experience. This is an implication that we have practiced this area or talent in earlier lives. Or at least that is a pretty plausible explanation, because what else should explain it? And we can check this with our own experiences. We can also find the children who are geniuses in some areas, and their talent are straightforward to explain with reincarnation and almost impossible without reincarnation. That is what a plausible explanation looks like. It is just more plausible if reincarnation exists. Some might say that our talents come from the genes, but haven't you seen geniuses that are born by parents without the talent of the genius? Don't we have talents ourselves that our parents don't have? And how should these talents come into the genes in the first place anyway? The alternative view to genes is that our talent is something beyond the physical and is something we can carry with us from one life to another. And we add to this pool of talents in every life that we live, and that is why we see develop over time. More about this in another video. Another compelling aspect supporting the idea of reincarnation is the notion of a spiritual world. It's essential to acknowledge the existence of a spiritual world for reincarnation to be a plausible concept. While exploring the topic of a spiritual world in depth would require a dedicated video, I will touch on the connection between our dreams and the spiritual world. We know our physical body ceases to exist at some point. We call this our death. In order to make reincarnation plausible, there has to be a way of keep living after our physical body has ceased to exist. Without a spiritual world, there is no way that we can live beyond a physical existence, and there is no reincarnation because we cease to exist. So how can we make a spiritual world and thereby reincarnation plausible? Consider our dreams. They can be as vivid and immersive as our waking experiences, yet they exist outside the physical realm. At least that's my assertion here. In dreams, we can defy the laws of physics, soaring through the air and doing things impossible in our waking reality, that being the physical reality. This points to an alternative way of existence, one that transcends the physical, a state with a characteristic distinct from our family physical world. So where else could we know the spiritual world from? We also know the spiritual world from our thoughts. The spiritual world is our thoughts, actually. Our thoughts are instantaneous, which is a characteristic of the spiritual world. That is, everything happens when we think it. Not like the physical world where things take time, so we have to plan it and it has to be carried out. The possibility of a spiritual world where existence occurs between our physical reincarnation adds weight to the plausibility of reincarnation. It's an intriguing perspective that aligns with our experiences in dreams and the instantaneous nature of our thoughts. The third argument introduces a certain level of abstraction, focusing on how we might comprehend the world without relying on the concept of reincarnation. Can we uncover the meaning of life without considering the possibility of multiple life and thereby reincarnation? Returning to the topic of our entry into the world. While some children are blessed with talents, nurturing parents, and favorable physical and mental conditions, leading to a good life, others are born with limited talents, challenging parental situation, in poverty with disability, or even facing a premature end or death. How can such disparities be justified? The perspective that we have just one life tends to lean towards life being somewhat unfair, echoing the sentiments expressed by many today. This viewpoint significantly influences our thoughts about life. If life is perceived as inherently unfair, does it not pave the way for us to act unfairly as well? For a life that is both meaningful and fair, it becomes crucial to explain why individuals enter the world with such vast differences in opportunities. This understanding finds resonance in the concept of reincarnation paired with karma. Karma is the principle that our action determines our outcomes. It basically means that what we send out is what we get back. The diverse life situations we encounter are an outgrowth of our past life. The fairness in life emerges because we are the architects of our circumstances. Our current situation is a direct outcome of our previous life and not a random occurrence. If life were to commence only at birth, this explanation would lose its coherence. Hence, the third argument persists that embracing the concept of reincarnation is essential for comprehending life as both fair and meaningful. If life is considered to begin solely at birth, justifying the substantial differences in our life situations becomes considerably challenging. Nevertheless, asserting the existence of reincarnation doesn't provide a comprehensive understanding that makes everything fall into place. Reincarnation contributes to the explanation of life's meaning, but it's only a part of the answer. Martinus provides an explanation for the meaning of life, but that's a topic for a series of videos that I aspire to create at a later point of time. But you can find it in his works already if you want to. There are also arguments against reincarnation, so let's look at a couple of them. The first argument I'll focus on is that we cannot remember former lives. The conclusion is obviously that because we cannot remember former lives, then they don't exist. The assumption is that if we cannot experience something, then it doesn't exist. Firstly, there are countless of examples of areas that we couldn't experience that turned out to exist. So that is one thing. The second thing is that our memory is pretty bad. How much can we remember from yesterday, a week ago, or childhood? Usually not a lot. But we don't argue that we didn't exist back then. The idea is that our memory is so bad that we cannot remember earlier lives. There are examples that children can remember earlier lives that seem somewhat convincing, but I'm not gonna judge that. The idea here is that we cannot remember earlier lives because our memory is not good enough. It might sound as a quite convenient explanation that our memory is not good enough to remember earlier life experiences. But on the other hand, if it is the case, then it is the case that we have earlier lives. Materialistic research can, by its nature, not definitively prove that it's only a physical world that exists. Just because something is not visible or measurable through materialistic means doesn't necessarily negate its existence. Add to that we cannot leave out that there is something unmeasurable. Something that exists but is not materialistic and measurable. You cannot prove this by measurement. On the other hand, you cannot prove something non-measurable by a measurement. As long as we don't know or cannot rule something unmeasurable out, then it would be unscientific to rule out the possibility that it could exist. We have to leave it as an open question. To Martinus, this was not an open question. He claimed that via developed intuition, he was able to experience the existence of a non-measurable something and other eternal principles. This was experienced reality to him, and the result was his writings, symbols and lectures, which we can study and check ourselves. And I'm not saying this to convince anybody about anything. I'm saying it because there could be more to the world than just the materialistic part of the world. And because there could be more to the world, reincarnation could also be plausible. In essence, the rejection of reincarnation from a materialistic perspective is not synonymous with solid scientific evidence, but it's rather a stance based on assumptions or speculative grounds. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this exploration of reincarnation intriguing, don't forget to show your support by subscribing and hitting that like button. We're eager to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below sharing your perspective on the plausibility of reincarnation. Until next time, take care and see you in the next video.